The story opens on a dense, thick forest. A man is running frantically, desperately hoping to find some way out, but the jungle is so overgrown and tangled that there's no visible path leading anywhere. He keeps moving forward, glancing up at the sun for direction, but the sun is already beginning to set. Still, the man doesn't stop running. After running for a while, he suddenly comes across a signboard. It reads, "Point of no return," meaning once you pass this point, there's no going back. Below it, the number 108 is clearly written. Seeing this, he becomes even more panicked. As time passes, the forest grows darker. An eerie, chilling fear begins to spread through the entire jungle. Suddenly, all the birds burst out of the trees and fly away in a panic. Even after running for miles, the man hasn't seen a single wild animal. It was as if something in the forest was so terrifying that even the animals were too scared to show themselves. Terrified, the man starts running even faster, but after several hours of running, he suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. His face fills with despair. Right in front of him is the exact same signboard, the one with point of no return and the number 108. It finally hits him. No matter how far or how fast he runs, he can't escape this jungle. Defeated, he starts looking for a place to hide, but there's nowhere safe around. So he decides to climb a tall tree. Just as he's climbing, a branch snaps. He falls from a great height and crashes hard onto the ground. The fall leaves him badly injured, with deep wounds all over his body. Before he can lose consciousness, the ground suddenly starts shaking violently. Strange, deep growling sounds echo through the forest. The terrifying noises make his breath catch in his throat. Then, without warning, something grabs him and drags him away. We never see what it is. All we hear are the man's agonizing, blood-curdling screams. 6 days later, the scene shifts to a city. We meet a young woman named Mina who works at a bird shop. Her boss walks in and tells her to deliver a golden parrot to a customer who lives far outside the city in a remote area marked as Zone. Mina agrees, loads the parrot's cage into her car, sets the location on her phone's GPS, and starts her journey. Once she leaves the city, she passes a large board covered with photos of missing people. Dozens of faces stare back at her, all people who had vanished without a trace. Mina doesn't pay much attention to it and keeps driving. Wanting to reach her destination faster, she takes a shortcut that cuts straight through the forest. Soon, she finds herself right in the middle of the same dense jungle where we saw the man disappear earlier. Mina is now completely trapped. She checks her phone map, but there's no signal. Even her car radio has stopped working. She tries to turn back and find a way out, but she can no longer tell which direction leads to safety. A short while later, her car suddenly breaks down. Mina steps out and immediately notices the same point of no return sign standing right in front of her. She's confused and scared. She picks up the parrot's cage and starts walking around, hoping to find help, but there's no one around, not a single soul. After searching for a while, she returns to where she left her car, but the car has completely vanished. Seeing this, she becomes extremely panicked. She wonders if she somehow came back to the wrong spot or if she's now in a completely different place. She realized her car must be parked somewhere else. Every part of this jungle looked exactly the same. The darkness was growing deeper by the minute. Suddenly, just like before, all the birds exploded out of the trees and flew away. Mina was starting to feel scared. The ground was shaking violently now. She could sense that something or someone was nearby. Then, out of nowhere, she spotted a shadowy figure in the distance. Mina ran after it, but when she got there, no one was around. Just as she stopped, she saw an old woman running through the tree. Mina immediately chased after her, calling out for help, but the old woman didn't stop. She just kept running fast. Mina kept following her desperately. Then, suddenly, the old woman vanished again. As Mina pushed forward, searching for her, she spotted a large room-like structure deep in the jungle. The old woman was standing at the door. She opened it and shouted, "If you want to stay alive, get inside right now." Without thinking twice, Mina sprinted toward the room. The moment she stepped inside, the old woman slammed the door shut and locked it. Mina looked around. It was a strange room with one huge mirror covering the entire wall. There were two other people inside with the old woman. Panicking, Mina asked, "What is this place?" The old woman replied, "We call this place the Cove. My name is Madeline. This girl is Kiara, and the boy's name is Daniel." Madeline quickly added, "There's no time for talking right now. Stand with us in front of the mirror. Something is coming to watch us." Mina asked nervously, "Who's coming to watch us?" The old woman didn't answer. Suddenly, strange noises started coming from outside. Mina asked in fear, "What is that sound?" Kiara replied, "We call them the Watchers. They're on the other side of the mirror looking at us, but we can't see them. They come out every every night after the sun goes down and just stare at us until morning. Then even louder noises started coming from the other side of the glass. Mina asked, "What's that noise now?" Madeline explained, "The Watchers are happy you're here. They're clapping because they saw you arrive." Mina was completely confused and terrified. She just wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. So far, neither she nor anyone else had actually seen these Watchers that Madeline was talking about. The night passed. When the morning came, the group finally stepped out of the room. Madeline told her, "The Watchers only come out at night. During the day, we're free to move around the jungle." Mina had spent the entire night thinking about how she could escape this place the moment the sun rose, so she immediately started looking for a way out of the jungle. Madeline stopped the others from trying to hold her back. It was as if she already knew Mina wouldn't be able to leave and that she would definitely come back. As Mina started walking away, Madeline called out, "This decision of yours isn't a good one. There's no way out of this jungle. You have to be back inside this room before night falls. If you're late, you'll lose your life." Mina ignored everyone's warnings. She picked up the parrot's cage and hurried forward. After walking a short distance, she saw the same point of no return sign again. It scared her, but she didn't give up. She kept moving in the direction of the sun, hoping it would lead her out of the jungle, but she couldn't find any way to escape the jungle. Eventually, the path just ended. Mina realized she was standing on top of a hill. In every direction, there was nothing but endless jungle, stretching as far as the eye could see. Completely hopeless, she sat down on the ground. Then suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She got scared and quickly turned around. It was the old woman, Madeline. Madeline tried to calm her down and said, "You're not the only one who tried to escape and failed. We all did the same thing and ended up stuck here just like you. There's no way out of this place. Come on, let me show you something." Madeline led Mina deeper into the jungle. "This forest is a hunter," she said, "and we're all its prey. If you want to stay alive, you have to stay with us." Then Madeline showed her dozens of point-of-no-return signs placed in a perfect circle around the jungle, with their rooms sitting right in the center. "These signs are about half a day's walk from our shelter," Madeline explained. "If you go past them, it becomes almost impossible to find your way back. So if you ever see one, don't ignore it. Turn around immediately." Mina asked, "Who made all of this?" Madeline replied, "A professor built it, but no one has ever seen him." Night fell, and the group returned to the room. Just like every night, the Watchers came to observe them. That night, the girl named Kiara danced in front of the mirror and said the Watchers liked it. It wasn't like the four of them had to stand still in front of the mirror all night. They could do whatever they wanted as long as they never turned their back to the glass. If anyone did that, the Watchers would get extremely angry. At night, the only problem was the Watchers, but during the day, they faced plenty of other danger too. Every day, the group had to hunt for food in the jungle just to survive. The next day, Kiara and Mina went out together to hunt. Mina asked her, "What do these Watchers actually want?" Kiara shrugged. "I don't know exactly. Madeline says they just watch us. They observe us. But if we ever actually saw them, we'd go crazy. She says they look incredibly terrifying, violent." Kiara then showed Mina a deep pit in the ground. There are many holes like this scattered throughout the jungle. During the day, all the Watchers stay down inside these pits. They only come out at night. They can't come out during the daytime because sunlight burns their skin. Kiara continued, "I came into this jungle 5 months ago with my husband. We've been trapped here ever since. 6 days ago, my husband went out alone to look for a way out. I still believe he'll come back and get all of us out of here safely." At that moment, we realized the truth. Kiara's husband was actually the same man we saw at the very beginning of the story, the one who was dragged away screaming. He is already dead. While talking, the two girls made their way back toward the room. Back inside, Madeline explained 3 important rules to Mina if she wanted to survive. Never open the door at night, no matter what. Never turn your back to the mirror after dark. During the day, stay away from those pits and remain in the sunlight as much as possible. As long as you follow these rules, you'll survive, Madeline told her. But Mina didn't believe a word Madeline was saying. That same night, Mina became curious about the Watchers. She pressed her ear against the mirror, trying to hear any sounds. When she couldn't hear anything, she started thinking Madeline had made the whole thing up. So she broke the rules. She turned her back to the mirror and went to sleep. That made the Watchers furious. They started pounding violently from the other side. The loud banging woke Madeline up immediately. She jumped to her feet and yelled at Mina to stand facing the mirror right away. Only after Mina turned around did the furious banging finally stop. In other words, when a person turns their back to the Watchers, they take it as a personal insult. The night passed, and the next day, Mina went out hunting with Daniel. She asked him, "Have you ever actually seen a Watcher?" Daniel shook his head. "No, I haven't, and anyone who has seen them hasn't lived to tell about it." Mina tried to convince him, "I think all of this is just stories Madeline made up to keep us trapped here. We should go check those pits ourselves. Maybe we'll find a way out of this jungle." Daniel was also fed up with
with living like this and desperately wanted to escape, so he agreed with Mina. The two of them headed toward one of the pits. Mina tied a rope around her waist while Daniel held the other end, ready to pull her up quickly if anything went wrong. She climbed down into the pit. Once at the bottom, Mina found a lot of human belongings scattered around: clothes, bags, and personal items. She gathered them all up. All of it had belonged to people who had become victims of the Watchers. Daniel pulled the rope up, bringing out cameras, a bicycle, and other useful supplies. Mina waited below for him to lower the rope again so she could climb back up. Before she could get out, she suddenly heard movement inside the pit. Someone or something was coming. Mina urgently shouted for Daniel to throw the rope down. Just then, a Watcher's hand reached out to grab her, but Mina was still standing in a patch of sunlight. The moment the sunlight hit the Watcher's hand, it started burning. At that moment, Daniel finally dropped the rope. Mina quickly grabbed it and climbed out as fast as she could. She was shaking with fear. They gathered all the stuff and hurried back to their safe house. Madeline immediately asked, "Where did you get all this?" They lied and said they had found it lying around in the jungle, but Madeline had lived in this forest for a long time. She knew the items hadn't come from the jungle. They had come from one of the pits. Madeline looked at Mina directly and asked, "Tell me, what did you see down in that hole?" Mina didn't say anything. The group was excited because they had found a camera in the pit. Tonight, they thought, they would finally be able to see the Watchers. Daniel managed to rig the camera and connect it to their old TV so they could watch on the screen. Madeline kept warning them, "You're making a big mistake," but neither Mina nor Daniel listened to her. That night, they all sat waiting for the Watchers to appear. But even though it got very late, no Watchers showed up to observe them. Something strange was about to happen. While they were busy talking, there was a sudden knock on the door.
They quickly glanced at the TV screen. On it, they could see a pair of human legs standing outside. The person at the door was speaking in Kiara's husband's voice, urgently telling them to open up. Kiara thought her husband had finally found a way out and had come back to rescue them. She jumped up and rushed to open the door, but Madeline stepped in front of her and blocked her. "I know that's not your husband out there," she said. "No human could reach this room in the middle of the night like this." Kiara didn't believe her and kept trying to open the door. Madeline warned her, "It's trying to trick you. Test it first. Ask him something that only you and your husband would know." Kiara asked the person standing outside about a specific book, something her husband should definitely remember, but the figure gave no answer at all. That's when they realized it wasn't her husband. It was one of the Watchers. When they refused to open the door, the Watcher got furious and smashed the camera they had placed outside. That's how they learned an important truth. The Watchers could shapeshift and take on human form. The Watchers were extremely angry at being tricked. They started slamming against the mirror violently, causing a large crack to spread across the glass. Madeline quickly took control. She lined everyone up facing the mirror. This calmed the Watchers down a little, and after a while, they left. Later, Mina confessed to Madeline, "We took all that stuff from the pit." Madeline became furious. "You broke another rule." The next morning, Madeline gathered all the items they had brought from the pit and threw them back down into the same hole. This seemed to ease the Watchers' anger a bit, but after that, the group started noticing very strange things happening in the jungle, and Daniel was affected the most. He began getting extremely angry over the smallest things. On the other side, Kiara had been holding on to hope that her husband was still alive and would come back to rescue her. Now that she knew he was gone forever, she completely broke down inside. She decided there was no reason left to live and made up her mind to jump into one of the Watchers' pits and end her life. Just as she was about to do it, Mina rushed over and stopped her. Meanwhile, Daniel started looking at Madeline in a strange, hostile way. Suddenly, in a fit of rage, he tied her to a tree and declared, "I'm done following this old woman's rules. From now on, everyone listens to me." Night was approaching, so Daniel ran toward the safe room. Kiara followed right behind him, but Mina stayed back to untie Madeline's ropes. Daniel and Kiara locked the door from the inside, leaving Mina and Madeline trapped outside with the Watchers. Mina and Madeline begged Daniel to open the door. They pleaded desperately, "Please open the door," but Daniel refused. Darkness soon covered the entire jungle, and it was time for the Watchers to come out. With no other choice, Mina and Madeline had to hide under a thick tree to try and survive the night. A little later, they started hearing the deep, terrifying growls of the Watchers. For the first time, we get a glimpse of them along with Mina and Madeline. They were tall, thin, and extremely dangerous-looking creatures. The Watchers crawled out of their pits and headed toward the safe room to observe the humans. When they realized Mina and Madeline weren't inside, they began searching the jungle to hunt them down and eat them. Once the Watchers moved farther away, Mina and Madeline seized the chance and rushed back to the safe room. They cried and begged Daniel to let them in. This time, Daniel's heart softened with pity, and he finally opened the door. As soon as they were safely inside, Madeline first scolded Daniel angrily. Then she made everyone stand in front of the mirror and began to tell them them some hard truths about the Watchers. "We've already broken so many rules," Madeline said. "I don't think the Watchers are going to forgive us this time. There's something I need to tell you about them, the real truth. Actually, when I first got here, I saw something that scared me half to death. I saw my own duplicate, a perfect copy of myself. It was a Watcher trying to take my form. Its eyes and hair weren't quite right though." Mina asked, "What exactly are these Watchers?" Madeline replied, "These creatures are fairies, or at least they used to be. Long ago, they lived peacefully alongside humans. Fairies were magical beings with wings, but as time passed, humans grew afraid of their powers. They decided to wipe them out. Humans outnumbered them greatly, so the fairies couldn't fight back. The humans trapped them all inside a massive pit deep in the jungle and placed a powerful curse on them, sealing them there forever. The fairies remained imprisoned in that pit for hundreds of years. Eventually, they dug tunnels underground and found a way to escape. Today, those same fairies emerge from the pits at night in the form of the Watchers. Because they spent centuries underground, they lost their wings and most of their magical abilities. Sunlight now burns their skin, but they still have the power to change shape and mimic humans." Daniel asked, "What do these Watchers want from us, and why do they watch us every night?" Madeline explained, "The Watchers want to leave this jungle and live among humans again, but they can't do it in their true form. People would be terrified. So they've kept us as templates. They study us every night, learning how we look, how we move, and how we behave so they can perfectly copy us and blend into human society." Madeline was still speaking when suddenly all the Watchers returned. The moment they realized Mina and Madeline were back inside the room, they exploded with rage and began trying to break down the door. The four of them quickly dragged the table over and barricaded the door to hold the creatures back, but the Watchers were incredibly strong. It was clear they would break in any second. Death felt seconds away. Then, while pulling the table, they accidentally flipped the carpet. Underneath, they discovered a large iron hatch in the floor. They quickly opened the hatch and found a huge underground bunker below. All four of them rushed down inside and slammed the heavy iron door shut above them. They were shocked that this bunker had been here the whole time, and they never knew about it. Inside, it was surprisingly well stocked, enough food to last thousands of days, a computer, and tons of other supplies. Mina wanted to know who had built this place. She turned on the computer. It contained a lot of saved data. When they opened the files, they learned that Professor Martin had created everything. The professor knew about these creatures. He wanted to study the Watchers, so he built this hidden bunker. He would lure people here with the promise of money, leave the workers upstairs in the room at night, and hide down here himself. The Watchers would then devour the humans above. In the next video, Dr. Martin explained that during his research, he had discovered one very special fairy, one that could come out of the pits, even in daylight. He said this particular Watcher had perfectly taken the form of a little girl. No one could tell the difference. She was very well behaved and never tried to harm him. Dr. Martin had brought her here. Then the professor turned the camera to the side. They saw that he had locked the creature, still in the form of the small girl, inside a cage. No one knew what kind of experiments the doctor had planned for her. The computer contained dozens of videos, each one revealing more information. Mina just wanted to know how it all ended, so she played the very last video. In it, she saw that Professor Martin was about to kill both himself and the fairy. Before he died, he left a message for anyone else trapped in the jungle. He explained the way out. Run in the exact direction the birds fly when they escape at dusk. That's your only chance to get out. In the recording, he also said, if anyone manages to escape this place, go to the university and destroy all of my research. Coming here was the biggest mistake of my life. After that, the professor went upstairs. 2 gunshots rang out. They realized he had first shot the fairy and then turned the gun on himself. That night, all 4 of them were overjoyed. They finally had a real way to escape the jungle. The next morning, they climbed out of the bunker, only to find that the Watchers had completely destroyed their safe house. They had no choice. They had to leave the jungle that very day. If they stayed another night with no shelter, they would surely die. The group started moving in the direction Professor Martin had described. The birds the professor mentioned only flew away at dusk, but they needed to get out before dark, so Mina released the golden parrot she had been carrying. They followed the exact direction in which the parrot flew. While walking, they came across a grave. Madeline looked at it and said, there was a time when these creatures lived peacefully with humans, but humans betrayed them, treated them horribly, trapped them in this jungle, and then abandoned them. After walking for several hours, they reached a river. There, they found a boat that belonged to Professor Martin. Everyone was thrilled until they realized it was already getting dark. The Watchers would be coming out soon. Just
Just as they were about to climb into the boat and escape, they heard a voice calling for help from behind them. When they turned around, they saw Kiara's husband, badly injured and screaming for assistance. The others had already gotten into the boat. Daniel jumped out alone to help. He started dragging Kiara's husband toward the boat, but then the group watched in horror as the man Daniel was helping suddenly transformed. It wasn't her husband at all. It was a watcher that had taken his form right in front of them. They couldn't do anything. The watcher killed Daniel. Luckily, the group knew the watchers couldn't cross the river. They quickly rowed across and finally made it back to the city. But the real twist came after they escaped. Once in the city, the 3 survivors went their separate way. A few days later, Mina went to the university as Professor Martin had instructed, determined to delete all his research data. Before she could delete everything, she found an old tape recorder. When she played it, she discovered a shocking new secret. Thousands of years ago, when humans and fairies lived together, they even married each other. The children born from these unions carried traits from both species. They were called halflings. These halflings had a special ability. They were masters of shape-shifting. They could even perfectly imitate a dead human. Professor Martin believed that when humans trapped the fairies in the pits, many halflings had already blended into human society by changing their appearance. They had been living secretly among humans ever since, and they still are, hidden in plain sight. When Mina arrived at Professor Martin's office and started searching through his things, she found an old photograph that completely shocked her. In one of the pictures, the woman standing next to the professor was none other than Madeline. Madeline was actually Professor Martin's wife. Mina was confused. Why hadn't Madeline told her the truth? She immediately went to Kiara's place to share what she had discovered. I found out that the Madeline we met in the jungle was actually Professor Martin's wife, but she didn't tell us because she isn't human. She's a shape-shifting fairy. She continued, when I dug deeper into the research, I learned that many years ago, Professor Martin's real wife, Madeline, died of cancer. Kiara looked stunned. Then who was that Madeline who stayed with us all that time? Mina replied, it's all starting to make sense now. The professor was devastated after his wife died and wanted her back at any cost. When he learned about shape-shifting fairies, he captured one, the special fairy that had come to him in the perfect form of a little girl. He showed her photos of his wife and forced her to take on Madeline's exact appearance. That fairy was different from the others. She could come out during the daytime. Mina added, I've already called Madeline here. We need to find a way to send her back to the jungle. Just then, a car pulled up outside. When the person stepped out, Mina's breath caught in her throat. It was Kiara. That meant the person who had been with her until now wasn't Kiara at all. It was Madeline, who had taken Kiara's form. As soon as Kiara walked into the house, Madeline transformed into the shape of Kiara's husband and knocked her unconscious. Mina confronted her. What do you really want? Madeline exploded with anger. I am the most different creature among the fairies. Ever since I was a child, the others mocked me and refused to let me live with them because I was unlike any of them. I was completely alone in that jungle. I just wanted to escape and live among humans. Then, one day, the professor came into the jungle. He trapped me in a cage. He told me that if I took the form of his wife, he would take me out of the jungle. I agreed. He taught me everything about Madeline's life, but that lying professor later tried to kill me. Before he could, I killed him first. You humans can never be trusted, and you never will be. Now that you know my secret, you have to die too. After I kill you, I'll take your form and live among humans. With that, Madeline transformed into Mina's exact appearance and started choking her, trying to kill her. Mina gasped. Didn't the professor ever tell you why you could come out during the day? You're a hybrid, half human, half fairy. That's why you can live between both worlds. I know what it feels like to be alone in this world, but you're not the only halfling. There are others just like you, living secretly among humans right now, disguised in different forms. The moment she heard the truth, Madeline's body began shifting uncontrollably back to her real form. Wings suddenly sprouted from her back. Without another word, she left Mina there and flew away. A few weeks later, the scene shifts. Mina is now living with her sister. She tells her sister, I think that fairy is still following me. Her sister comforts her. Don't worry, nothing like that is happening. In the final shot of the story, we see a little girl standing quietly outside Mina's house. It is none other than Madeline, now living in the human world in this new form. And with that, the story ends. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and like the video. Thank you.